Hey folks, it's the Blind Guy here, and I had a special request from somebody that I was playing on War Chest, and it's Ramirez122 wanted me to make a video talking about the strategy in this game. So this is dedicated to him. Hey Ramirez, thanks for the request. And we're going to take a look at, in this game, it's a random game, and Ramirez is a newer player, which is awesome. I love that we get more people into the game. And we did random, and so he ended up with the warrior priest, footman, the light cavalry, and the royal guard 2.0. I have, when I say that, I just mean it's the royal guard from the nobility expansion, not the original royal guard, which in my opinion is the top 2 unit. And the one from the nobility expansion is kind of middle of the road. I ended up with the scout, the swordsman, the marshal, and the berserker. And I was actually wanting to practice something in this game is focusing more on the swordsman. I've been playing the berserker a little different recently. So there's in my mind, there's 2 different ways pretty much to play the berserker. One is you can bring your berserker out early into here or here, just in a place where they're fairly safe, and just build them up and then bring them into the fight late to win the game. That works fairly well. But the way that I've been playing it a little bit recently, just to try something new, is I'll bring the berserker out to here, just bolster him twice, fight the battle with my other units, and then I can bring him in late to capture usually this spot here. And he's actually protecting that spot because it doesn't take much. If he's bolstered here, I only have to recruit 1 to attack here. And so it's just a little bit different way of playing him. But I wanted to focus in this game more heavily than on the swordsman because my berserker would be coming in late. So I can use my swordsman as my primary unit. Scout to me is almost always a secondary unit. And the marshal I'm going to just bolster out of the game. And so my thoughts were to bring the berserker to here, so he's got this spot late, and then bring the swordsman up, and then make a decision whether I want to bring the swordsman up to here or out this way. And when I get there, I'll tell you why I did what I did. And now with the swordsman, to me, the swordsman is a very strong late game player because of that ability to attack and then move. And a lot of the times, if you're attacking a single unit, he can then kill it, move on to the base, and cap it for the win. But he's also, in my opinion, he's a pretty strong just game player. If you get him out bolstered or triple bolstered and then have a very small bag where you're drawing a lot of swordsmen, he becomes very strong in that regard. For Ramirez here, my swordsman's not going to play well against his royal guard, and I have to be careful about what he's going to do with his light cavalry. So that will determine a lot of times where I'm going to move. So this is kind of a focus on the swordsman, and I'll walk us through it here. So he brings out a footman. I am recruiting another swordsman. And I actually, at that point, instead of dropping the swordsman down and then putting the scout out, I just use the scout to recruit another swordsman. You'll see it's going to end up being the same number of moves later, but I'll get an extra swordsman out of it. So I don't usually bring the scout out unless I can drop him onto a control base or a base. So if I don't have a double, if I had the double swordsman, I could bring the swordsman up to here and then bring the scout out. But I only had 1, so it would have been bringing the scout to here, and then I'd have to move him and then cap. So I just used him to recruit, and then I'll drop him in later. Here we go. So he brings light cavalry over there. That's fairly expected. That's where usually players will bring him out. And now we're looking at me bringing the swordsman out. I'm going to recruit another swordsman, drop my berserker there. And I used that scout again. I did not get very good draws on the scout, so I used that other scout to recruit. And at this point, I would just start recruiting some berserkers because I can always just bolster them. Now I bring the swordsman up, which is fairly standard. That gives me a decision on where I want to go. I'll back him up with the marshal, bolster the berserker. This is where I can drop the scout. And this is where I think, in my opinion, just for Ramirez, he's in kind of a tough spot here just with how he drew his hand. But to me, I would have put the warrior priest over here and tried to get the royal guard onto this spot, because that's the weakest spot for him, and that's where I'm going to focus on attacking with my swordsman. But if there was a royal guard there, then I have to then go this way, and then that opens me up to the light cavalry attack from this way. So just a little bit of a suggestion there for later games, Ramirez. You don't play this poorly at all, but I just think that might have been the better place to go with that. Drop the scout. I want to bolster before I get here, because if I move here and then control, then he can drop down here and put pressure on me. This is not a bad strategy, but if you're going to implement this where you're going to pressure me here, you probably want to recruit another royal guard just so that you can move more quickly. Where if you only have one royal guard in your bag, you're moving fairly slowly, and I can outpace you with my swordsman at that point. Recruit another berserker. Get onto the spot. Control it with the swordsman. Move there. So I chose to go this way. This is important to understand. If I had not been up against a light cavalry, I could have gone this way with the swordsman, and that would have been a fairly viable strategy. But with the light cavalry, you don't want to leave this base open, because it's a really easy jump into it. So if I'm moving towards him, I can always get in front of him before he can make that jump, or I can move back onto the base if I have to. So that's why I went this way instead of going up this way, just because of what I was up against here. Now, with the fact that I have the initiative bonus, really helps, because the light cavalry is really strong if that player has the initiative bonus, because they can just flip it and then they can move on to a number of bases and then just flip it for the win. Flip it, move, and then win. So here we go. He controls. It's a good move. This is why I like bringing the berserker down here, though, and just bolstering it up, because now if he moves off of this base, it's an easy move onto it with the berserker. So he becomes kind of difficult where you're almost stuck, because if he's got to go, I guess another option maybe would have been to bolster the light cavalry just out of the game and control this base and start bringing the warrior priest in, but might run out of time at that point. Just kind of spitballing here, thinking of some different ideas. Control the base with the scout, bolster the berserker. He moves onto there, which is expected. Maybe should have moved onto there after triple bolstering, may have been an option, but either way, probably going to be tough to defeat this combo here. Controls, and then this is where the swordsman's so powerful, he kills the last light cavalry, moves onto the base. I can then move my berserker up to cap that base, and now I just draw the last swordsman for the win. Right there. So I hope that helps you guys out a little bit with the swordsman. Like I said, it's a very strong late game player, so sometimes if you bolster him out of the game and then bring him back late, he becomes really hard to defend because all the other guys' units have been weakened, and a lot of them aren't bolstered at that point. But you can also use him early game like I did there. He's not going to do well against certain units. I don't think he does super well against a regular cavalry. But I mean, and obviously like the pikemen. You know, you guys know I love the pikemen. So just some thoughts there on how to play swordsman. I hope that helps you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode of A Blind Guy's View. Thank you so much for all your support and the comments and everything. It really helps. I just do this for fun. So I hope that helps you guys out. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you on warchestonline.com. Laters on the Minjay.
Laters on the Minjay.